discussed about an hour ago, right?
I have forgotten.
No, just kidding. Yeah. So we got the topic is probably one of the most interesting ones that one could come up with in this context, because while we're talking about all this analytics in the brochures, they've heard a big spiel about you. Don't talk about yourself. Let's get straight down to the point of what has been your experience of analytics adoption being a challenge in organization. And let's try to take different contexts. We've got domestic, we've got international, we've got different kinds of verticals. We'll just talk about the problem of adoption first, and then we'll talk about how to deal with it. Yeah. So kind of let's take it in order.
Sure. I have worked mostly with US geographies, so I think whatever I say, remember that it's mostly applicable to US large multi-billion corporations. My experience has been with financial services, retail and CPG, so again limited to those verticals. Easier to solve, and we will come to the solution part later. There are other two bigger problems or hurdles in the way of adoption of analytics in these large organizations.
Once you want to add on to that, or would you like to build on these two as well?
First,
You upskill them so they understand what's happening a lot better, rather than feeling that somebody else is going to come in and do a better job of forecasting than I am doing currently.
Right.
How about you, Rajat? We've got half-hearted adoption. We've got pulling out the plug too early. We've got conflict between IT and business, and people wanting to just plug in products and hope that they'll kind of show some miracles. Lack of skills in the market, not enough strategy in place, organization, and the data challenges. Whichever one you'd like to take on. Go.
To start, I can give examples how the strategy or the strategic thinking and the sponsorship together made a lot of difference to these organizations that were not very analytical to begin with, but
Who's doing it well?
there are organizations that have started to do it well.
no,
Okay. And what we essentially hear is it's crucial to have that in place, but don't boil the ocean. Get going and show impact, faith, to get people alongside. Fact or fiction?
Both true and false.
Right? Let's hear both sides.
I'll give you an example. In retail, one of the largest expense item is the store's payroll, at least in US.
Fine. Shailesh.
I was just saying, partly agreeing with that.
Excel, and they love putting 1 and 0 in those Excel cells. So we gave them this ability to optimize their assortment and space so that they can put 1 and 0. So the ease of the tool was very useful. Yes, they wanted it on their fingertips, their decisions, but also an easier tool and nothing that makes it feel high-end and advanced analytics kinds.
So very quickly, two things. So I see analytics journey as a
Apps and stuff. So is a faith building required even before that? Because democratization sounds a little bit down the road to me.
Yeah, no, so, Sandeep, you could always do that in...
What's the best way to kind of break out of that? Everybody seems to have that problem. Everybody knows it's the problem. Is knocking heads the solution?
So I can get that. What is it?
Make the data non-problem by saying, let's run with what we have and show results and parallel track that big project. Would that be what we should recommend people do?
See, I mean, there are things like data virtualization that you can do. You don't have to necessarily bring data over into a place. You can still retain it there, lay out these softwares on top of it where you can just connect across and bring it over. But yes, I mean, there should be common...
Your data doesn't even need to leave your premises, or even if it leads, most of these data integrators use cloud, and you need only certain amount of variables. If I'm doing just marketing automation, I don't need entire 1,000 variables lying in the marketing data warehouse for that. But I do want 20 variables from my own data set. I want 20 from the Unica that I'm using. I may want to use Nielsen and IRI data. I may want to use the social data. It will take my IT team forever to get it all together in data warehouse. But if I have a data integrator who's willing to do it out there, for me, cheaper, faster, why shouldn't I do it?
So, so we heard a couple of points about let's start quickly with what we have, or let's create a sandbox for people to play with. Trivial in the larger picture, because people are running off and doing small things on available data, but that's not solving the larger organizational challenge. Is that a risk of that approach, of starting small? If it doesn't work out, then you're kind of on thin ice, and the entire organization will come at you with their bias.
Even if it's a failure, it didn't pan out for whatever reason, I couldn't implement it because the system didn't allow implementation. It'll be easier to forget, but if I go invest in a large-scale data warehouse and it is not useful, Nobody will forget that. And then I bought the tool, what happened? Then there'll be 5-year, regression that, okay, I don't think analytics helps. And then we have to do change management all over again.
Your prioritization.
The problem child usually works well. Right? Quite often, problem child projects tend to not work as well, or problem business requesting data from IT and IT providing data to business, and actually having that be a seamless loop. Or the closer you can get to it, the better. And if you start with kind of a bad case, then the delta is easier, right?
The bad case backfired for us one time. So be careful, don't pick up the world peace problem.
Okay, so I think that's the time that we had, and we have to open it up for questions.
Sides of the table, and I have a point of view. If you have, it's a simple question of what you can do and what you can do cheaper, right? If I have the ability or if it is competitive edge for me, I should do it in-house very clearly.
In view of things. So I would always suggest that you bring in somebody from the external world, but to what extent you want to involve people from the external world is something that you'll have to decide based on your level of confidence.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to the panel for that interesting discussion. Thank you so much.